Alright guys, how's it going? Awesome Soul here, and today we have the beginnings of what appears to be the hashtag GetEpic update. I don't think it's going to be called that, but you never know. So, as I'm sure some of you might be aware, there were two news articles posted today. Although, one was posted earlier, and then one was posted about an hour or two later. In between that time, at least on the Robocraft forums, and oddly not on the Reddit. The Reddit was fairly content with this, which is usually not the case, but on the forums, there was a bit of assault and flame and flaming salt. Let's just go with that. So yeah, people weren't happy just because the first article left out a lot of seemingly important information that people sort of jumped to conclusions on. But now that we have the second half of it, I think the main reason that people were angry is no more. Unless, of course, you're still angry about this update, and go ahead and post your angry comments down below. So what do I think of this? I think it's actually kind of cool, but we don't have all the information just yet, so I'm keeping an open mind. But so far it looks pretty good, I guess, depending on how they implement it. So in the first article, this one is the E14 version. If you don't know, there are two factions in Robocraft, E14, the CF Alliance. The CF Alliance are kind of the rebels, and the E14 are, I guess, the big business sort of thing. Anyways, so the main interesting thing in this one is this United Galaxies Intergalactic Treaty type thing. Most of this is flavor text, but there is some information on these points here. So number one, any fossil fuel material in the construction of battle robots will be considered a war crime. So basically, that's just saying if you use any fossil fuels to make your robot, you're gonna have a bad time. You end up in jail, and that's no fun. That's just flavor text, of course. All functional components left on the ground at the end of battle should be collected and distributed fairly to all combatants for reuse in future builds. So this will... Actually, I'll get into that a little later. I'll just read off all these parts first. All non-functional components, rather, left on the ground at the end of battle should be recycled into robots and forged into new parts. To discourage the black market of battle robot components from fossil fuel materials, it will be considered a war crime to sell components in cube depots. So that means the cube depot is gone, but it will seemingly be replaced with something else. All galaxies should decommission cube depots immediately. It kind of goes back to point 4. Nothing really to say there. So, number 6, as a result, the now redundant universal currency used to purchase robotic components will be abolished, and all those with surplus robot points will be issued the equivalent value in robots. So, what's this talk about robots, I hear you ask? Now, FreeGem hasn't exactly detailed this too much, but my main thought behind this is just a bit of speculation on my part. But I think it's speculation that makes a lot of sense, because later on, in the Daily Robot, which is the CF Alliance version, they're talking about tier flattening, which has been talked about for quite a while, actually. But basically what that means is all weapons are going to be on a level playing field, and they're all going to be equal, but in their own unique way. So the biggest laser is not going to be better than the smallest laser. So the smallest laser is going to have a higher rate of fire and less damage and less accuracy, but the bigger laser is going to pack more of a punch, but with a slower fire rate. So they're equal, just not equal in stats, equal in sort of power output and how strong they are. Now, what we have right now is an insanely inflated price on every part. So way back in the day, well, I guess now too, but you know, the smallest parts would be like 100 RP or like 200 RP, And you know, that makes sense for new players, but if you're gonna have to bring up all robot components to this new level, and that level being everything costing 1,000,000 RP or up, if you're new to the game, and you don't know how much RP you make per match, and you see $9 million components, you're gonna be kind of freaking out, because that seems a very daunting task. So what this whole robot thing is most likely gonna be is making that number a whole lot smaller. So in order to craft your new component with your robots, you're gonna maybe use like 10 robots to make this gun, and maybe you only get like 1 robot per match or something like that. I don't know. They didn't actually say, but that's kind of where I think this whole robot thing is coming from. And now the big thing, the loot crates. So what's happening with this is there are going to be bronze, silver, gold, diamond, and protonium labeled crates. And depending on the crate, you'll be getting common, rare, epic, and legendary items inside. So depending on how well you do in a match, that will determine what crate you get at the end of the game. Now, they didn't exactly say how score is going to play into this, because I see you needing to get an insanely high score to get protonium, and presumably you would need to go into Battle Arena, where you can actually get a high score, because the matches would be long and drawn out. And honestly, that makes a lot more sense, because it's sort of like, take your pick. Do you want to spend a lot of time in Battle Arena and possibly get a protonium or diamond chest, or do you want to have a whole bunch of real quick matches where you get sort of bronze and silver chests, but you get a lot of them? So kind of a balancing thing there, and that kind of makes sense actually, come to think of it. That was just kind of off the top of my head, but I think that works. So of course all the loot out of these things will be random, and you can actually get Galaxy Cache items from these chests. Presumably they will be in the epic and legendary category, but that's pretty cool. Although now, what exactly is Galaxy Cache going to be used for, other than premium time? Will we still be able to craft and or buy Galaxy Cache only items? That'd be kind of interesting. Basically all the cosmetics and I guess functional part variants like the Carbon 6 SMG or the Wolf Leg. Now, here's something very, very interesting that I'm sure pretty much everyone is happy about, regardless of whether or not you like the loot crate thing. We are getting Earth maps. Yes, you heard correctly. In the coming months, that is a quote, we will be getting Earth maps. That, my friends, is going to be very awesome, because there is an insane amount of variety on Earth, if you didn't know. There is volcanoes, you've got deserts, you've got swamps, you've got forests, you've got cities, you've got lakes, you've got oceans, you've got everything. So what are we going to see in an Earth map? My guess, for the first one, I'm thinking probably some sort of cityscape map. I don't know, what do you guys think about this whole Earth map thing? What kind of quote-unquote Earth map do you want to see first? A forest or a city or what have you? Now, jumping over to the Daily Robot. This is the CF Alliance, those dirty, dirty rebels. No, I'm just kidding. So, this one sort of cleared up a lot of the anger, I guess, that was going over with the Robo News version. The Recycler section. This one is the most important one. Basically, what this is you can break down components that you don't want out of your chests. So say you open up a chest and you get a railgun, and you're like, oh god, railguns, I hate railguns, I never use them, they're my least favorite weapon. You won't have 1,000 railguns just sitting over in the corner that you never use. You can recycle them, and that will give you robots, which you can then use to create parts that you actually want. That is very cool. So, as I was kind of going off in my example before with the whole robot versus RC type of thing. I think this works a whole lot better, to be honest. And from a, I guess, new player's perspective, it is a lot more interesting now that they won't necessarily see all the items in the game. It's a bit more of a mystery to them. They're like, oh, what am I gonna get next? I can't wait. Instead of seeing everything, and it's like, okay, I'll get that eventually, and then I'll get this eventually. I don't know, it kind of leads to like a mystery and sort of slowly discovering the game, and there's always something exciting around every corner. I'm sure you guys sort of get where I'm coming from if you've ever tried out a new game, and you're like, oh, what's next? You know, that kind of thing? I don't know. And then, finally, another thing that I'm sure people will be very happy about, again, regardless of whether or not you like the loot crates, the CRF is changing. But it's changing for the better. Now this is something that people have been wanting for quite a while. Drum roll please. You can use your own parts that you have stored up to make bots on the CRF. So instead of having to spend money on parts that you might already have on a bot in the CRF, say you're buying this bot and they have 2 ion distorters, but you have 2 ion distorters already. This way, you can buy it off the shop, and those ion distorters will come out of your inventory, so you don't have to spend extra to buy those. That is very cool, because now I can actually throw up my full bots on the store instead of just the chassis, and not have to worry about people paying insane amounts of money. So that kind of covers everything in the news today. There was a fair amount to cover, and I don't know if the controversy has died down or not, but only time will tell. Of course, your opinions will, I guess, let me know what you guys think of the update, so post those. Do it. You know you want to. Anyways, with that, I will go ahead and end the video right about here. I've been the Awesome Soul. I thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Take care.